Shalom. I want to first start off giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash, double honors unto our apostles as well as the men that taught them, the elder high priests, as well as the elder bishops and the elders at Great Millstone. Peace and blessings unto the 144,000 and the rest of the elect of the nation of Israel. This is the brother Abadia from the GMS Houston camp. And I got the idea to do this video as I was talking to from the elder Atazaria of our camp. Okay, and he was telling me how he watched what's the elder's name? I believe Amawan Gabar. His page up in New York. GMS Awakening. I believe that's the GMS Awakening 144. If I'm not mistaken. And he brought out Proverbs 13 and 13. I didn't watch the elder's lesson. Okay. But the elder Altazar told me that he watched his one of his videos he put up, and he had brought out this Proverb 13 and 13. So I'm here looking for a topic for a lesson, and I went and I just I remembered that conversation. I said, let me go to Proverbs 13 and 13 and read it. So it motivated me to do this lesson. Okay. Well, it's gonna be something short, if it be the Lord will. And Lord willing is edifying. Okay. So I'm gonna read Proverbs 13. Proverbs 13 and 13 through 14 and also 15. So let's get it. Proverbs 13 and 13. Whoso despiseth the word shall be destroyed. And we already know the ones of our people who are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. We the Israelites according to the scriptures. Here let's focus on Babylon the Great. Okay, 2/3 of our people here are going to perish, and we know there's many of the 2/3 that they've heard about the Israelite thing, but they don't believe. Some of them may have heard it, but they so caught up into this vain world, okay, that they don't even cross their mind. They don't even think about it. It's as if they hadn't never heard it or heard somebody talk about it. Our people are fucking gone. And what we see is through their actions, they despise the word. Okay? The word that went out. And I say this, Jake know so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans know that they're doing a lot of shit wrong. Yeah, they don't know the details of the law, statutes, and commandments, but they know sleeping with another man's woman is wrong. They know robbing and murdering is wrong. These women know that being a hoe is wrong, but this devil told them they can be a hoe. So they riding with the devil. Okay? You would think that our people understand that eating pork and shrimp and all that shit is wrong just through observation of seeing, family member after family member, friend, deal with their sicknesses, but their Jake so bugged out they don't accredit sickness to. A lot of Jakes don't accredit that to how they're eating. You got, I have a good example, the elder out in South Carolina, Manatazakba. Seen the last what this past weekend when they went out and brought it out, some YNs came all up in front of the camera and just totally disrespectful. They just totally disrespected, the word, and they're supposed to, it's written, but it shows you that they despise the word. They came up, talking their shit, playing games, bullshitting. Then they left off. But that shows that our people despise the word. They don't walk by and say, "Oh man, this is powerful. Let me sit here and listen," because it's a powerful message coming out. No. It's a joke. Look at them, they look funny. They got dresses on. Look, getting in front of the camera, mocking the name of the Most High. you know, Jake scoffing their mind. When Jake see us, fucking out here yelling at the white man again, or whatever the hell is going through their damn mind. You can see it on Jake. They despise the word. Now you have Israelites that know that they're Israel. They know that they're Israel, or they believe they're Israelite, and they despise the word because they don't follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. A lot of these Israelites, they're doing their own thing. I want to get this word despise real quick before we continue. Whoso despise it, let's get it. So that word for despise goes back to H936. And this word is bawaz. Let me see. I'm saying it right. It says to despise, hold in contempt, hold as insignificant. Yes, when this is the most significant thing happening in the earth. The men of Yahweh Shem Shai preaching the gospel. That's the most significant thing taking place. All right. It says to disrespect. Yes. First, Jake don't. A lot of these Jakes don't believe. They say they believe. I'm talking about the ones that know that they're Israelites and the ones that's supposed to be or teachers, but they're not teaching right. Okay. And if the word respect actually goes back to back or to look back. Okay, so when you look back on the greatness, the greatness that Yahweh Shem Yahushua shows in the scriptures, the greatness of himself, Yahweh, and the greatness of his only begotten son, Yahushua, the great understanding of the beautifulness when you understand the scriptures, when you see the mercy that the Lord had on us, Israelites, okay? When you look at the sacrifice that that's first and foremost. You look at the sacrifice that our Lord Yahushua made, first and foremost for the elect and also for the whole nation. Okay? You should have a level of fear and a respect to look back on it and fear and, be humble, be in a repenting spirit. But Jake is not doing that. They're disrespecting. They don't watch their mouth on how they talk about certain men. They don't check things out to make sure they're not slandering. Okay? They don't check the scriptures out thoroughly to make sure that they're on point. They, you got a lot of them Jakes in these other congregations, these other camps, that they just blindly follow the leadership. They don't check nothing out. They're more so caught up in the practices they have in those groups, how they keep the Passover. So they make mockery of that. Okay? They're in the wrong spirit. Let's go back to the verse. Proverbs 13:13. Whoso despiseth the word shall be destroyed. That's the end result. You despise this word, and don't matter if you know you're Israelite, that's the first step to getting this knowledge and understanding. You gotta believe you're an Israelite. Okay. Then you have to, you have to believe in Yahushua and the sacrifice he made. And that really that comes in the form of us believing in the scriptures in its entirety, from front to back, including the Apocrypha. Okay? We can't pick and choose where we want to believe in the scriptures, or how we want where we want to apply how we move in the scriptures. Oh, well, I don't want to do that. Oh, I don't agree with that. That must mean something else. Oh, that's too harsh. Well, that can't be the case. You know? Because Jake still got their head up the so-called white man's ass. Got their mind all in his Babylonian bullshit. His westernized way of corrupt, rotten, westernized way of thinking. And that's ultimately gonna get one destroyed. Okay? It says, but he that feareth the commandment shall be rewarded. And the top commandment is for us to teach this word right now. And as we do so, we're supposed to rehearse the righteous acts. We're supposed to keep these laws, as a rehearsal, preparing ourselves, to receive perfection. That's the new covenant. Yahushua is going to usher that in at his return onto the elect of the nation of Israel. All right. So let's read on. It says, the law of the wise is a fountain of life. Yep. And the law of the wise, the law of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, is a fountain of life. Because when the law, statutes, and commandments are kept, it brings forth life. Things thrive. Great productivity happens. Justice gets served. Fairness, which is the same thing, goes out. Happiness is achieved. People are searching for happiness in this white man. I'm go in this white man's world, in the so-called white man's world, in this Edomite world. Okay, and you're not gonna find it. You ain't found it yet. And Jake fronting, smile, and it's all good. And I'm doing, I'm getting to the bag and acting like shit is going well for him, and it's behind the scenes, it's a big mess of unhappiness. For one reason or another. How the hell you gonna be happy in captivity? And we always say, or we have said from time to time, the worst slave is one that don't know he's a slave. So Jake don't think they're still in captivity. They think they're free. And we're more subject than ever before. Through this man's contracts. We're subject to have privileges, you have to subject yourself to these contracts. All right. So let's read that again. It says the law of the wise is a fountain of life to depart from the snares of death. Exactly. And it's nothing wrong, well, I'm not gonna say it that way. We're supposed to want to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. Yeah, we want to be perfect. We want to keep the law perfect. We understand that we just can't in this flesh. And we can't do it also in being in captivity, you know? But we want to. And we understand by keeping the laws, it delivers from snares, traps, because the law is not just something we do as zombies. We just like zombies. We just keep the law. No, there's understanding in keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. Okay? It makes sense to keep the law, statutes, and commandments, which means there's understanding in it. When something makes sense, then there's understanding in that. Okay? Next verse, it says, Proverbs 13:15, good understanding giveth favor. But see, good saying that's rooted in the laws. And that's rooted also in the wisdom and understanding of the scriptures, of course. Understanding the scriptures in its entirety. Understanding the prophecies. It says, but the way of the transgressors is hard. I want to go, I'm going to speak to the last part of that verse, but I want to go back up to the 14th verse towards the end. It says to depart from the law. So to depart from I'm sorry, let me read the whole verse. It says the law of the wise is a fountain of life to depart from the snares of debt. So it allows us, when you keep the law, statutes, and commandments, it allows you to depart from the traps of debt, like the sad diet, the standard American diet. Having a knowledge and understanding of the scriptures or applying the law, it'll have you eat better, eat lawfully, and be in better health. Give you an example on on a more, carnal level. All right. To understand that, not to try to rise up with arms and go against this government. That's not wise. That's to get you trapped. It's a death trap. It's not wise to pop another man's wife. You know? It's a death trap. Going back to Proverbs 13:15, it says, good understanding giveth favor, but the way of the transgressors is hard. And Jake is going to consistently just transgress. They're how can you put it? Basically, Jake is living a long life of going off. So they pretty much, you can see Jake ain't gonna change. And we understand that's scriptural. They're not supposed to. They're gonna stay stuck in their ways of transgression. And they're gonna find their self ultimately, and it's happening right now, between a rock and a hard spot. Okay? Because going off, transgressing, living a life where you just going against the law, statutes, and commandments, Okay? Not believing in Yahweh, you're ultimately gonna end up in a bad case, bad situation, death, ultimately. But with good understanding, the scriptures tell us, Isaiah 33:6, that the knowledge shall be the stability of that time, right? Let's get that real quick. Isaiah 33:6, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahweh, is his treasure. So I want to read that real quick, because good understanding giveth favor. Meaning what? What I just read. You have understanding, you're going to be in a lot more favorable situation when all hell breaks loose. Okay? Because you're going to understand what's going on, why it's going on, and uh, believe that the Lord is on his way to deliver us from this chaos and destruction. Okay? So, I'm gonna end the video right here. There's more can be said to this, a lot more, of course. Uh, but I'm gonna just stop right there. Lord willing, this video was edifying. Until the next one, I say shalom.